Okay.
Hi, and welcome everybody online and here present. Good to see y'all.
Good to see you too.
Yeah. Um, so today my talk is about new starts. Last time I talked about endings, and today I'm talking about beginnings. So that seems suitable. And I vowed not to say a single darn word about poetry, my usual obsession. So I know. Then it turns out there are other things.
Other things in poetry.
Who knew? So it's a little daunting to be talking here in front of you and people online because I understand that I'm talking about a topic that everybody knows a lot about. You're all experts in.
Oh, yeah.
New starts. You are, because we all have had new starts, right? And here's an interesting aside. My first husband was an authority, like a leading national authority on a weird niche topic, Zeppelins in popular culture. A Zeppelin being a airship, not the band. About 25 years ago, we went to Germany with a bunch of other Zeppelin experts. We were going to meet some surviving crew members from the Hindenburg disaster. A lot of people survived that, believe it or not. Yeah, they were very old. At the time, they were young cabin boys, and when we met them, they were old men.
And they survived.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Oh, most people survived. I could tell you how that happened.
Wow.
The captain, Ernst Lehman, dumped his ballast on people on the ground as they were, things burning up. The ballast water, right, from the Zeppelin. He intentionally stayed on board and dumped ballast on people so they were sopping wet and they survived a lot of that hydrogen blaze. This is not what I'm talking about. But we did go and we met Eugen Wendele, this guy who was a cabin boy in the Hindenburg, and lots of other people too. They were like 16 when they were at the Hindenburg to America. Anyway, back to my tale. We went with all these people to Germany, and this poor tour guide, Ingrid, was there, and she was wanting to tell us all about Zeppelins. These Americans had booked this tour to Germany to learn about Zeppelins. So naturally, she did what any of us would do and read a bunch of books about Zeppelins. And she started to tell us, like, a Zeppelin is a rigid airship with a duralumin frame, and it was set aloft by hydrogen or helium, and flammable hydrogen is what caused the Hindenburg disaster. And she said, in his book, James Johnson says, blah, blah, blah. And a guy in the back of the bus is like, I'm Jim Johnson. And then she goes to another book she's read to tell us what a Zeppelin is, right? And she says, like, so-and-so said. And then so-and-so's back there. She's like, hey, I'm so-and-so. Thanks for reading my book. Well, Ingrid understood she didn't need to tell this bus full of experts what an airship was and what a Hindenburg was and what all that stuff. Everybody on the bus was a published author and
oh my God.
So poor Ingrid. But she actually had something of value to add because she took us to see all these sites. She found interesting people on her own in addition to what the group had requested. There were some great sites that this group didn't necessarily know about, and Ingrid did because she's super at her job. So she was able to provide some insights that made the trip utterly worthwhile. Now, in this talk, I'm exactly like Ingrid because you guys understand better than I do the beauty and the power of fresh starts, right? Everyone here has stood up for the first time with the help of the coffee table, right? Everyone had that first absolutely astonishing bite of applesauce after knowing only milk. It blew your mind. Most of us remember when we realized we were going down the sidewalk under our own power. Mom or dad had let go of our bicycle seat, and we were doing it. That was a fresh start. We were on our own doing this, and some of us had the experience of taking that first backing out of that driveway the first time with our little plastic license in our jeans pocket and heading out. Right? We've all had fresh starts, and all of us have had the fresh start of walking for the first time into Unity of Springfield. Anybody here remember first time they walked in. Now I gotta get the microphone for this.
Are you talking about here?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Unity of
Yeah.
Springfield. And
Oh,
Unity in general. I'm interested in that too. Yeah, grab that and turn that on.
Turn it on. It's flying something with a first start.
Who'll go first?
Okay. Right. Hey, we got a first.
We got a first, Paul.
Well, back in, probably mid-'80s, I don't remember the exact year. I walked in for the first time, and it was a crowded sanctuary. Doug Bottorff and his wife were both on stage doing the program, and I can't remember the name of the keyboardist. Noah Karash, I think his name is. I think he's still around.
Now, when was this?
Mid-'80s.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, and I live 100 miles from here, so I just came in, went to service, and went back home.
Wow.
But it turned me on enough where I knew that this was a spiritual place for me. And I would come occasionally because it was such a distance back then.
It's interesting when you discover a place that's going to be meaningful for you and you don't realize it, but you're drawn to it. That sounds like what happened for you. This was going to be a place that mattered to you. You had an early draw to
Well, I
it.
did. Well, I was, I had just moved to the Ozarks in '84, and
It was a Baptist culture,
Yeah.
where I lived. And, of course, I had a support group with people who followed Eastern religion and yoga, in my area, but it was, a small group. And I wanted something a little bit more towards traditional, but not all the way Baptist,
Yeah.
So this was right down my alley where I felt like I could accept what was being taught and know that my belief system did not have to change to fit their mold.
Yeah, that's great. All that we authentically came here to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you, Brenda. Brenda has closed the blinds, so I couldn't see anything but silhouettes in front of me. Now you have faces.
So Rachel and I were looking at joining the church if you have kids and things, to bring a little religion and community back into our lives and things. I grew up heavily Protestant, Methodist, and so I was very familiar with that archetype and these types of things. One of the bigger churches in the area, but never really felt it, especially as a kid, all that stuff. And we walked into Unity, and everyone was genuine, and it kind of blew our minds a little bit. We're talking Mary, Paul, and I think Sue, and people were kind of present, and it wasn't a facade, a glamour, and then we found out about the cold weather shelter. I don't remember if it was happening when we came in, but it was something. I think it was. It was like we might have talked to Lisa or something, and it was like that. You use this, yeah, and so here at Unity, I had never, I'd grown up in a church that multi-million dollar endowments, just a mega church, and I was like, well, shit, this small building is doing more than the 30,000 square foot place that they may spend more money, but it felt more real.
Yeah.
And
shocking.
Yeah, it was shocking. And then we go into the sanctuary, and Sue, God rest her soul, was talking.
Sue was fine.
Yeah, she was fine. Sorry, that's a joke. But too soon. But now she was talking metaphysicality and the alternative interpretations and stuff of spirituality, and that also was very much what I was looking for. Is the better than the average bear. Both that were oh my gosh, the people here don't seem to be affecting stuff. The church itself, its mission and activities are genuine and mind blowing in terms of the passion that people were putting into it. And then the message was advanced over the traditional Protestant Christianity in the area, and so like that's trifecta really.
Yeah, that is a trifecta. It's weird that there are more than 600 churches here, and only 6 of them now have cold weather shelters. My God.
No,
It
it's
really is.
it is.
We should all, there should be room for everybody, housed or unhoused in our churches. Yeah.
So I came over to babysit for a month for my granddaughter.
Yeah.
And I knew Susan Dempsey from the Avatar course. And so when I walked in, Norma Jean and Harry were at the door. Norma Jean was always at the door. She finally retired, went to Hawaii, and has since passed. But we held her funeral here because this was where her heart was. And of course, Harry has passed. But they were like greeting people at the door. And I had been told by my pastor in Wichita when he found out that I'd gone to the Avatar course that I could come to church, but if I talked to anybody about Avatar, I would be sorry.
Yeah.
I was on the board that hired him, but anyway. But Avatar had so changed me, and at that time there were 6 or 8 Avatars going to this church. And I sat there, and every Sunday for I don't know how long, almost, I cried. And I was like, ah. And so I made the decision I was not going back to Kansas, and my daughter-in-law was gracious enough to stand by me with that. And so I've been here ever since. And my granddaughter that I came to babysit for just turned 18. And so I've been here since then because it's like my people.
Well, you're my people. I'm glad you're here.
Well, back in the 90s, I went to a church in Joplin for gay and lesbian transgender support group.
Yeah.
And it was also the church, this church shared space with the Unity Church too. It was a Unity Church and this other church together. So then whenever I moved to Springfield, I decided that I wanted to see if there was a Unity Church here. So in 2011, I come here, and Papa Harry and Brett Meyer shook my hand and welcomed me just like I was just a normal, everyday person, and I've been here ever since.
Wonderful. Positive, practical spirituality. That's what you were finding.
When I got here, I opened the door for Pat. I hugged Mary, and I seen Brenda, and I knew I was in the right place.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, those are people that would keep me around too.
Well, I know that they are who they are.
That's just what Greg said. No glamour to it. I mentioned this during Sue's retirement celebration, but I had been church hopping in Ohio. I belong to a church in the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America tradition, and there's also a Missouri Synod, which is very different, very conservative, and obviously more common in Missouri here than the ELCA. ELCA is a progressive Protestant denomination, and my church was particularly progressive, and so I was looking for that kind of home. And my God, I church hopped here and went just everywhere you can imagine. I went to one ELCA church, and the minister called up the kids for a kids talk in front of the church, and he launched into this like sexist story he thought was funny about mom in the kitchen and dad laughing at her for the stuff she's doing. And it's like, where am I? What is going on? It seemed like every denomination was 3 steps to the right, and I was always looking for more to the left, right? I believe, like Greg was saying, allegory and metaphor. That's where I derive meaning. I don't believe in these stories literally in the Bible. I believe they stand for something profound. And so I was looking for that kind of understanding, and everywhere I went was like crazy compared to what I was hoping for. I'm sorry, those of you who are watching. Yeah.
ELCA, my wife's a Lutheran and goes to church right down Seminole here, and they do have that Sunday school little thing almost every week, you know, and out of all, let me put it, out of all the religions that I had read about, I could come closer to being a Lutheran than anything, but not really, because they had there's just no way they're going to listen to anything I might have to say at all. And so a halfway religion is not where I want to be. I don't even want the word religion in it, because that denotes some kind of authority somewhere that is beyond the spirit that I believe in. And so the gratitude I have towards this church is simply because when I came in, Sue, just her first sermon alone, just astonished me. Wow, they actually let her speak and nobody got up and stoned her.
Yeah. Dang.
Okay, and so and I have, the only thing that saves me at the bus barn where I drive the school bus is that they're so desperate for bus drivers that they'll just like, well, one of these days we'll get rid of him. But that's okay. See, because I feel that no matter what if I say something as a seed of love towards someone else, whether they see it that way or not is none of my business.
Because you come from a place of
And if it's there and they have it in them, I believe, as I've been told, that it's going to grow. And at some point, it will make a entrance into their lives. So I just want to say how grateful I am to this church. And I like Paul too, you know.
You're one of those evangelical.
So I'm going to let that go. That's enough of me.
No, never enough of you.
Yeah.
So we didn't hear the finish it.
Oh yeah, I mentioned at Sue's retirement, I was trying to find, I didn't know Springfield that well. I kind of remembered the Unitarian Church was about this point off of Glenstone. I happened to be on Seminole instead of Battlefield, which is where the Unitarian Church is. And I was trying to find the Unitarian Church. I consulted with my old minister, and she's like, well, this might meet some of your needs. You're bound to find some interesting folks, have some great conversations. So I'm like, oh, try being a Unitarian. Spent a summer in Provincetown, Massachusetts, and went to the Unitarian Church. By the way, drag queens. This is a great town with lots of gay entertainment culture. The choir was the best you've ever seen, and the sparkliest, and the I just love going to that church for the music alone. So, but the Unitarian Church was my goal, and I walked in here still thinking I was in a Unitarian. I saw Unity, but yeah, didn't know. I stumbled in by accident. There are some worse places you can end up by accident if you're looking for a church in Springfield.
Yeah, it wasn't an accident.
There are no accidents.
It's so funny how many people actually think that we are Unitarians. Well, you are Unitarian. But I mean, that's where, you know, as I say, back in the mid-'80s, I came here. And I did the same thing. I went between the Unitarian Church and here, back to the Unitarian here, trying to figure out where's my home, where's my spiritual home here. And I like the Unitarian Church. I'm not going to put them down. But this church had spirit.
Yeah.
And over there, it was more, I would call it intellectual, maybe.
Yeah.
And
But there's enough in
and
common.
they're trying to please
softball.
everybody, you know, and you know, from atheists to, you know, to the very religious, to Buddhist, to, you know, whatever. And that's great. And I love that. But for spirit, my gosh, you can't get that.
Yeah. We have a lot in common. Those are our brethren over there.
I also would, I was a member of the Unitarian Church in town, and this is the way I see it, their main focus is more social justice than religion.
Yeah.
And I was wanting to find something that was more in the line of a spiritual path than social justice.
Well, if I had wandered in there, I probably would have stuck around. I'd be given their Sunday morning talk, probably with more sources and footnotes, but so that probably would have been very welcoming home. Like the rest of you, I kept coming back here. I like the new start, and each new conversation and each new message by our spiritual leader reinforced the good feeling I had about this place. I knew that this was home. As a church right now here at Unity of Springfield, we're all going through a new start together with Sue's retirement. I'd like to be excited about that, but I am not there yet. It feels like there's going to be kind of a scary gap in my spiritual development while we host a series of one-off speakers and muddle through the best we can. I'm being very honest here. Complicating that is our financial picture at the church. We're not flush with money. We're struggling financially. And I wonder, will a spiritual leader take a chance on us? One that we would want to have here. That's a big issue, a big concern for me. The person that does come here, will they feed my spirit? Will I feel like coming? Will my son feel like coming to Youth of Unity? The most difficult question I'm grappling with is, am I a Unity person or am I a Sue person? And would Sue mind if I went to her house and just talked to her on Sundays? Yes, she probably would. And by the way, does anyone have her address?
I think her husband might.
Yeah, we have a connection.
You just have to follow him home.
But it can't be about Sue, right? I can't. Absolutely can't be about a person, any person. It has to be about our shared thing that we're building here together. Yes, unity. And I behold the Christ in you. It's the church.
Community.
Yeah, community, yes. Community among people who share.
Never thought about that.
Yeah. Not unity, community. But Unity's teaching emphasizes the Christ within, and it urges us to discover and celebrate our own divinity.
Exactly.
So the church is not God's house. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Right here, it's in me. This is the place where we pick up some principles for living, and we practice affirmative prayer, and we relish the beautiful, transformative community of people who are searching for some of the same things we are. It is community. And that'll always change. People have this terrible habit of dying or moving or leaving our lives, but then these other people have this wonderful habit of coming on in and joining us. So just a living organism, always taking in new and expelling what's finished with us. So here's a question for me, related to that other question. Why do you come here? Why do you come to church? Why do you come to Unity? I know what got you in the door. What keeps you coming? Yes, Jerry.
I find me.
Yeah, tell me more.
Well, then we got to go down my road, and it can be kind of a thing of, because all I see is me. Any personality I perceive that's you is something that is going to help me.
Yeah.
It's always about me, no matter what. And as long as I look at it that way, then everything I see, since I love me, I love everything.
Yeah.
Only in first knowing me and loving me can I find you in my perspective.
Yeah. Beautifully put.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I'm here. And this is community to me. This is my spiritual home, and these are my people, and that means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to Sue, and Sue's not going away. She is coming back because this is her community home too. And I think we have to realize that we're here because it feeds something inside that we're just not quite getting anywhere else. That doesn't mean we can't find things somewhere else, but it's a place that drives us, I guess, you know. And I just wanted to say one thing about, because I am on the finance committee, and I've said this in the meetings more than once, and that is, we're not closing our doors. I don't care how few resources we have. As long as we can pay the utility bill, and as long as we can, you know, have insurance, we can run this church. And so being afraid of finances, being afraid of, you know, getting someone, you know, to lead the church, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm going to stand up. And, you know, we need to have a solid foundation inside of all of our hearts that this is our place. This is our home. And I want to say that loud and clear, because I don't want anybody thinking that we're on our way downhill. We are not on our way downhill. We are going to, if we can keep that vision, we're going to have somebody phenomenal in here to help lead us. Now, it may take a few weeks, or a few months rather. It may take a couple of years. Who knows? And we're going to have fun in between here and then.
We're powerful manifestors.
Well, it's happening. It is happening, and I just want people to feel good about that and feel strong and secure.
Yes. Oh, that's so important, and I love hearing it too. Did you have a thought, Greg? Oh, I thought. He said, "I can talk some." I love that.
No. The original prompt was why come to Unity?
Yeah. Why do you keep coming back?
The shorter, easy answer is it's all part of the plan, I suppose. I hold that I create my own reality, and so that's a question I ask myself every now, kind of like, why am I here? Is it worth it? And why am I spending the energy to do this type of thing? Well, two parts. You know, I enjoy the people and the ability to gather in a space to have conversations, even if it's just to listen. And you know, it's as part of Rachel and my personal journeys. This is it's a stop gap, I suppose. You know, I have my own church kind of thing that I have done, and Unity helped, you know, inspire a lot of the other principles and the things, and so realistically, we're here because we love the people in the community and all of this. Now, I'm kind of a outlier a little bit in that I will be fairly outspoken against being a unity church and towards being a community church, which is kind of what I meant when I call it from the back. I enjoy the Fillmores and their teachings. I don't particularly enjoy any institutionalized religion and believe that the Unity Church in general has succumbed to its own dogma over the last 120 years. And we could do more and better, but also the support that they provide, I understand, is invaluable. So, be that as it may, I'm excited to see what the future holds. And then that's also why. I mean, I see the people gathering, wanting the love, the connection, and the community, and I'm not trying. I'm actually taking no action in any way to be like, care about the people, not about the branding and the mantra that you hold yourselves under. And that's kind of the way for me is again, love the ones you're with, and not the governing body.
Yeah.
And so I come here for that, to watch.
Well, and you always contribute in ways I find just beautiful too.
No,
Be challenged.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the value. That's the value that I get.
Yeah, it's the value you add. Is a challenge.
It's reciprocal.
Yeah, that's really good.
The reason why I keep coming here is because it is one of the few churches in Springfield that accept transgender people. And as a transgender person, I keep coming here because I get to be myself, and it is a welcoming community for me.
That's astonishing that there are other churches where you don't feel
And
welcome.
I also believe that a church cannot be built on quicksand. It's got to be built on a solid foundation. And I think Unity of Springfield has got a solid foundation to build on.
A rock, Peter.
Yeah, for Brenda's point, that was something I forgot to even mention. It was like, why did you come here? What did you feel like the first time? And, we talked to Mary, and just, it was amazing because I watched friends and pastors actually forced out of the church that I grew up in. Not even because they were homosexual themselves, but because they said it was okay. And then just gone in 3 months, and that I never understood. And then Unity it felt welcoming to all, which was definitely huge in my checkbox list of like that. I mean, again, the glamour, right? It was like we're all just putting on our masks to go to church and be social and make sure we're keeping up with our rich neighbors or whatever, and shaking the hands, and that always disgusted me. And Unity never gave me any cause for disgust with the way people were interacting.
Well, that is a very basic standard. This church really disgusts me.
Well,
But some of them.
been to some churches, haven't you? Like, go James River and tell me how you feel.
We're in scouting, and my son's troop, when my Eagle was just a Cub Scout, went and we were hosted. Scouts is kind of a neighborhood-based organization, and we went to our neighborhood church to meet. They picked the scouts out because the scouts said that scouts themselves, not leaders, scouts, boys at the time, could be gay.
Oh my.
So that church kicked us out. Now they have a glowing sign on the corner that says, "Everyone's welcome here." It's like,
Oh wow.
Yeah, but and I always have to throw this in, and I'm probably going to get thrown out of this church one of these days.
Where's the door?
Is that even the disgusting need salvation? Okay,
Sure. Well,
it's like, what am I doing whenever I look at them in a disgusting manner?
yeah. And you're not talking
That
about
mirror
here.
that I'm looking into is reflecting back to me something that I need to fix. I can't fix it. And so this is the lovely part about the mirror. This is why when I said, each and every one of you are a mirror to me. And I, in loving me, do give to you the same love that I feel for what I am.
Well,
Okay.
I look great today.
And it's not a thing of I am not, I'm just saying that even everyone is capable of that.
Yeah.
And until we get to that, we're never ever going to watch these walls fall away.
No.
Because these walls are an illusion.
Well, you might be a little more advanced than I am in my spiritual growth here.
Well, the more I tell myself that, the better it gets.
Well, I'm here because there's nowhere else to go.
There you go.
You know,
That's one way to look at
The
it.
coffee's hot.
I have friends that come, and every once in a while they'll be gone for a month or two because they haven't found what they're looking for, but they always come back because they can't find anything else. And it's like, this is not the perfect place, but if you find the perfect place, don't go there because it won't be perfect if you're there.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, you build what you want, and so, you know, even though there are things that I'm not particularly a unity person, but this is the place where people are accepted and where you can grow and you can do other things. Abraham isn't under the unity, and I don't think Course in Miracles is. The meditations that we do on Sunday night, that's not particularly a unity thing. But we do other things. We accept everything and we flow. And so if, you know, we find our people and we accept. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day that said, well, this person has this thing. And I'm going, I didn't know that, but she comes here and I don't care, you know. And the more you come and the more you hear the message of acceptance, the more you're open to receiving. And Spirit's the teacher. And so, you know, you can't come and expect to be fed all the time because it's not somebody else's job to feed you. It's your job to find that place inside of you where you are being in connection with the flow of Spirit. And if you're looking to be fed, then Unity is going to teach you how to feed yourself. And that's the answer, because it's all an inside job. And so this is the place that helps to enforce that teaching, that it's an inside job and that you don't need somebody else to teach you. You need to bring your best to where you are. And that's why I'm still here.
I'm a history buff. I love history. And what Charles and Myrtle did, in my opinion, is nothing short of phenomenal. They stood up and spoke truth. Again, in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion. They were part of a movement that we all know of as the New Thought movement. And I relate to that. I could go to a Science of Mind church and feel pretty comfortable in it, probably. One thing I didn't mention, one of the reasons I came here and I was so solid here is because Charles and Myrtle stood up for something that was very important to me. And I doubt it's very important to anybody else in this room. And that is, they did not believe in killing animals for their food. And I'm a strong proponent of that. And I still have to believe that that is a part of unity, although you don't hear it. There are some that do speak that, but not very many. And so that is important to me, and that history of that is important to me. It was in the very first statement of faith that we did not believe in killing animals for our food. I hold that heavy in my heart, high in my heart. And now if you come into the Unity Church today, I've heard it called the gay church. you hear it called Happy Church.
Yeah.
What?
The non-Christian church.
Yeah, and
Thank God.
do we have a large gay population? Sure, we do. Maybe it's a third of the population. I don't know, maybe more. I don't know. Charles Myrtle never said anything about gay rights or homosexuals, or I never heard one word about that, from history. However, in our church, we do talk about the things that were important to Charles and Myrtle, the things about spirituality. And we're also talking about new things that matter now, aren't we? So we are doing both. And I think that's really important. I think if you took a survey of a lot of people here, they want the teachings of Charles and Myrtle. And there's a lot of people that could care less. They want social justice. They want things that were not taught about, from Unity or New Thought. So we grow, right? We grow. In time, we grow. Tomorrow, who knows what that's going to be? I don't know. I think as long as it follows the path of love and it follows the path of what I call unity, that we're connected, we're all connected, I'm probably going to be fine.
Part of what I enjoy about Unity that I actually wasn't aware of when we came initially, but as I explored the Fillmores and part of their works was I've been drawn, historically to Theosophy by Blavatsky and that era and stuff, and anthroposophy, I think, whatever, Rudolf Steiner, anthroposophy. And both of those are kind of the foundational, or at least some of the earlier 1900s launching of, I guess you might call it the New Age movement, the esoteric movement, and that type of stuff. And they were those were very heavy and prominent influences on the Fillmores philosophy and on the Fillmores construction of kind of the principles of the Unity Church. Mm-hmm. And so I really enjoyed coming full circle. I was like, wow, the Fillmores really have some really great stuff to say, and the way that they did it is extremely inspiring. And then it kind of was in tandem with other works and with other stuff that I had been exploring independently.
The Transcendentalists, I love Emerson, and there's just like the Emerson Church.
Yeah.
Well, both of my grandmothers were Christian Scientists. And so my parents were Christian Scientists. And so I was raised in that environment. The closest thing we had to medicine in the home that I grew up in was my mom's Laboris mouthwash. We didn't have an aspirin. We didn't have anything. And we just were taught to know the truth, and the truth would set us free. And when we got a cut or a bruise, we put it behind us and went and played and forgot about it, and then it wasn't there anymore. My sister broke her leg, and they did take her and have it set. So there were two instances where medical facility things were used, but basically nothing in my upbringing had that. And so then I was searching, and the Christian Science Society in Flagstaff didn't give me answers, so I ended up becoming a Baptist because they knew what they believed. And that didn't really fit with me very well. And then I ended up moving into the Pentecostal movement, and the Spirit was definitely moving. My daughter is a Rhema graduate. And I felt the Spirit there, and it was amazing. And then I went to Avatar, and I understood why the Pentecostal movement works, because if you believe in something, you create it. Mm-hmm. And that changed my whole thinking, because on the Avatar course, I encountered Source. And when you have that encounter, you know that the things that you were taught from the so-called Christian perspective aren't real anymore. And so then I was looking for, like, where do I find this? But I was so thrown out of balance because I didn't know what to believe. And when I came in, I went through the, what was the class that Kenneth was teaching? And I found the word, Kenneth was teaching a year-long class, and I can't remember the name of the book, but they talked about chemicalization. And I realized when you go through that traumatic a change, your brain changes. And it made me realize that that's where I was, and that it gave me a light at the end of the tunnel. And then I started going to the Abraham classes, and it put everything back together for me. And I was at that state when I came here. And so it allowed me to explore. And then I went back and looked at my roots, and I tried to read Science and Health, which is Mary Baker Eddy's Christian Science. And she was so restrictive, and nothing in Christian Science can be altered or changed except by Mary Baker Eddy, who is dead. You know, she's no longer in this here in body. And so I went back beyond where she got hers, and I read the manuscripts of Phineas Quimby, who was the first one to start this whole, the healing thing. And he's the one that taught Mary Baker Eddy. And then she taught, was it Emma Curtis Hopkins or, yeah. And she, when they parted ways, she went to Chicago and opened a Christian Science healing school because Mary Baker Eddy had not patented Christian Science yet. And from that teaching, that's who Charles and Fillmore studied from. So if you go back to Phineas Quimby, it is amazing the things, and it was his own self-development that came through. And so the roots go back to that, to finding out why we function, why we're in our bodies, what we do with them. And the teachings of Phineas Quimby, the manuscript, were absolutely phenomenal.
And I like that there's an acknowledgement of the body, right? So much of Christianity is about this body is just doesn't even matter. It's, I live here. It's my neighborhood. I care about this body and all the crazy shit it does. So literal and figurative. I think the body is worth considering, and so I kind of like that part of the
Leg one of a three-legged stool.
yeah.
Interestingly enough, what Elby was talking about with Christian Science, before Mary Baker Eddy was, you could either call it took or was allowed to take the name of Christian Science, because Christian Science, even Unity, was originally called Christian Science. And there were many other groups that called it Christian Science too. Mary Baker Eddy then patented it, and everybody agreed to release that name for what they were doing. And I can't remember what year it was that we came up with, or they came up with the Unity. I just thought it was interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
I just want to say I'm sure glad that everybody here is right, because that makes me right too.
Yeah.
See how wonderful
the bad
it
news
works?
is we're all wrong.
No, no, I never want to enter that into my lexicon,
Okay.
because if I do, then there's something I look for wrong.
So now, my topic today, unity. We're talking about unity because we're in this time of a new start. My title is Genesis. Something about new starts, about making the most of new starts. So anybody tuning in is like thinking about new starts and wondering when I'm going to talk about that. But I think it's important to put a little bookmark here. Unity of Springfield is a worthy community where we feed the hungry, we offer shelter from the cold, we honor the earth and care for it, these are things I would join a social club that did those things. And here we've got a spiritual, faith community that does those things, and that's pretty profound. Now, for some of us, church is intertwined with faith, right? Faith is a complicated word to unpack. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, said faith is a perceiving power that allows us to perceive possibilities that have not yet manifested. So faith, for us, is this ability, this knowledge that we can manifest, create, make whole the things that we have in mind, possibilities that haven't manifested, new starts, right? Note the first thing God says in the Bible. This is verse 3, after the second paragraph, because I think in terms of paragraphs as a writer. Let there be light. There's a little stage setting. It's all darkness and void and blah, blah, blah. And God says, let there be light. First thing he says. And I think from a metaphorical perspective, light, we all know what that is. Light lets you examine things. Divine source prioritized light over everything else. And metaphorically, we can see light as intelligence, understanding, insight, learning, probing, and questioning. Light. To shine a light on something lets you see it, all its warts. So new starts then can be, and this is God's new start in our text, right? Metaphorical, I believe, can be understood to be about gaining insight and growing through our burgeoning understanding. Jesus also said some things about new starts throughout the Gospels, and I thought I'd hit on some of those. I do research, even though it looks like I'm just talking. Very truly, I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. John 3:3. Born again, that's where a lot of these other denominations kind of don't want us in their softball league, because that's kind of not part of our overt worldview. The idea of being born again is not something that we talk about the way some of them do. But Jesus was telling Nicodemus that new beginning comes from being born, not physically, but spiritually, new birth through the Holy Spirit, seen as a foundation of Christian transformation. So what's the kingdom of heaven? What is heaven? In unity, that's a state of mind, not a reward we get when we die, but something we can tap into now when we're aligned with divine source. Jesus says we have to be born again, but we see that as having to be born into new powers of perception, honed by meditation, new ways of thinking, insight, all the things we learn all the time. Not like Mary Baker Eddy, you can't change this stat, has to hold, but like Paul was just saying, we're always taking in new understandings, and it makes us better, right? Also, John 8:11, neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin. Remember the stoning of the adulterer, not to use sexist terminology. To the woman caught in adultery, Jesus offered mercy instead of judgment. That's the literal meaning of the story, right? And he calls on her to live a future that's free of shame, because grace makes new life, new start possible. You have a thought, Jerry?
Oh, it's just, I love that in the sense that I've learned here just recently through ACIM is that God is now.
Yeah.
That's all he is now. That's it. There is no guilt. There is no shame.
Yeah.
There is no sin.
And
There is only now. He doesn't see a moment ago. He doesn't see a moment in the future. All he sees right now at this exact moment is the perfection that you are.
yeah.
And that was the beautiful part of understanding that no matter how you want to view the past, it's only your view.
Yeah.
And no matter how you want to see the future, it's only your view. Because he has neither one.
It's a story really about honoring the dignity and worth that's
Yeah.
inherent in everybody. We're
Yeah.
not wretch like me Christians
Yeah.
here.
It doesn't exist.
We can always start anew.
Yes.
And that's
Every
new
moment's a
start.
new one.
Yes. he also, remember, called upon his disciples, come and follow me. We see that throughout the Gospels when he encounters his disciples. He invites them to leave behind their old jobs and lives and step into a new purpose and have a willingness to go with him where he was going to go. No matter what we're doing, we can always throw down our nets and our tax ledgers and take a walk that we can follow our whole lives. We can leave it at any time too if we want to, but a new start. What's that?
Can't be reborn.
And we can be reborn, absolutely. Also, Mark 1:15, I was looking at, the kingdom of God has come near. Repent and believe the good news. Repent. Now, a lot of churches this morning are talking about repentance, and they mean that you are a sinner, you're miserable and vile, you got to change your ugly ways to enter the kingdom of heaven, to go to heaven. The Gospels are written in Greek, and the word that we translate to repent comes from metanoia. Meta meaning knowledge of everything. Yeah. It kind of means like after mind, metanoia. So it kind of means the changing of mind, right? As you grow in knowledge. Yeah, and so a new leader here, I'm coming back to this, our communal New Start, means more chances to change our mind. Just as Sue changed my mind, changed my thinking, and opened my understanding every Sunday, who would have suspected that I would come to church wanting to repent, gain new knowledge, change my mind week after week? I do want my mind changed, and that's how we know our mind is alive, that we can change it. When we're atrophied, then I don't think we're fully alive anymore. Some other things that Unity teaches that have to do with new starts are that you're inherently divine and capable of renewal. So every person is an individual expression of God, inherently good, eternally connected to spirit. Always have the capacity to begin again. Thought is creative. Our thoughts shape our experiences. So we're always creating, just through every new thought that we're inspired to have that pops into our head through a chemical reaction or through some other means. Whatever thought we have changes us, and we can initiate a meaningful new beginning. Also, we have prayer and meditation as tools for renewal. Through affirmative prayer and meditation, we can connect with our inner divinity, release our limiting beliefs, and open ourselves to new possibilities. We obviously have two ceremonies here that are important to us. There's a burning bowl ceremony. Write down all the things that don't serve us and we set them alight, right? It symbolizes letting go, readiness for a new start. And then the white stone ceremony, where you receive a white stone and inscribe it with a word or phrase that represents your new identity, your new name. And I used to teach first-year students in college, and they would come to me, sometimes they'd come to me and say, my mom's making me major in finance, or like, you are 18 years old, you don't have to major in finance. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You can change your name. I'd tell them, you don't like who you are, give yourself a new name. This was before I ever had a white stone ceremony. I told hundreds of thousands maybe of students, change your damn name. You don't like who you are, you get to be whoever you want to be. So that's something we do here. We start over. It's embraced as a sign of our divine potential. In other church traditions, there are sacraments like baptism and communion. And I've heard ministers call a sacrament an outward sign of an inner change. Right? That's something that they'll say a lot in a faith tradition like ours, where we're encouraged to read and think, challenge norms like Jerry always does, while centering our inner guidance. I think we can say change is kind of our sacrament, and the ability to like go in and make discoveries and change who we are. We're always made new. I don't have just a whole bunch of sources here, but I looked all around, read a lot of things, and I saw a few notes about the benefits of change from the perspective of science. neuroscientists say engaging in new activities strengthens neural pathways and builds new ones, increasing neuroplasticity, which helps us to learn even faster and adapt even more easily. So willingness to learn and be open to new things just gives us more alacrity when we want to continue the process. It is good for our mental health. When we have new experiences, we release dopamine, that feel good chemical that is linked to pleasure and motivation, and that can reduce our depression and anxiety. And trying new things is associated with greater life satisfaction. Novelty is good for our creativity, makes us more creative to experience new things. As a writer, I like to get out and travel, and I'm always filling the bank for what I'm going to write about and think about and how I'm going to be creative, and probably have your own creative outlet. But newness feeds us. Newness builds self-confidence and resilience. Newness keeps our brains from going into cognitive decline. That when we always open ourselves up to new things, even if it's doing that crossword puzzle every day, which they always recommend, right? It lowers our risk of cognitive decline of Alzheimer's and dementia, and it can help with our longevity. And new experiences increase our social connection. We get out there and we meet new people and do new things. Psychology offers some tips for making, I'm just buzzing through these because I want to finish on time. This is what psychology says about how you can make the very most of a new start, right? Katie Milkman from the University of Pennsylvania says people are more likely to take action toward goals after temporal landmarks, New Year's Day, right? New Year's resolution. I am somebody who takes resolutions seriously, and I even keep a spreadsheet, and I keep it going for months where I'm like, okay, I'd like to eat more vegetables. Am I eating more vegetables? Never make a stupid resolution like lose weight. I don't want there to be less of me. I want to be healthy me, right? So my resolution will always be like, be hale and hearty and move my body and eat good things and let the chips fall where they may. Maybe not like literal chips. So a good tip, start a habit on a meaningful day, your birthday. Today, the first Sunday that we're here with a new kind of setup. You can reframe your narrative. Look at past setbacks as part of your growth. Write about what you've learned from past challenges. Think about how you want to show up differently. And what I was saying before about the weight loss thing, set identity-based goals. Don't say I want to lose 10 pounds, but say I want to be someone who takes care of my body. Much better to think who I want to be, not like some metric, pounds. That's only relevant on Earth. It's really only relevant in certain countries on Earth. So kind of silly to think like that. Who do I want to be? So ask yourself who you want to become and let that guide your fresh start. Some psychologists say clean things. Make a physical change to your space. Cleaning, rearranging, letting the energy flow. And that reinforces that you're making a break from the past. Tell others what you want to accomplish. We've got a new start here together at Unity. Let's talk together about what we want to be. And this is a good tip if you want to eat more healthily, or you want to grow and thrive as a church community together. Talk about what your vision is. And other people, when you share what your goal is, I've always found other people want to help you. This notion that people want to stand in the way of your progress, I've not seen that. Yeah, there's some other tips. But won't see it unless you look for it. No, good. So fresh starts work best when they're meaningful and intentional. It's all about realigning with your best self. I'd like to suggest that we resolve together not to be scared of new beginnings. I'm personally resolving to support this church, which means so much to me financially, with my time and energy and ideas during this period of transition. like I said, we have 600 churches. We can wander into any of them anytime. But this is home, it's our family, and I feel like embracing this new start here with you. So, now, the ancient Roman philosopher, the Stoic, Seneca the Younger, contemporary Jesus was born 4 BC. That means he's 4 years older than Jesus. Here's what he had to say about change. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Now, the crazy thing is, I thought it was that one-hit wonder Semisonic in their 1998 song Closing Time. I know who I want to take me home. You know that like, yeah. You don't have to go. Yeah, Craig knows it.
Yeah.
I actually thought they wrote that. It was Seneca the Younger. But I know who I want to take me home. It's you and Unity. And I look forward to experiencing the transformation with you and during this transition, but also every single day. So be good company. All right, so that was loud. Thank you. It's not closing
You got
time.
us all going. My God, we started 4 or 5 churches here just today.
That's right. I'll share the announcements for our folks at home. Meditation tonight at 6, open to everyone. It's so fun. Everyone is invited to participate in daily prayer at 9 p.m. on your own. Focus on the prosperity and growth of unity. Set your alarm, and let's harness the power of collective prayer and meditation. Monthly board meeting, Wednesday, May 21st at 6. You can come. Guests can arrive at 6:20 after they pray in and talk about their stuff. Navigating Grief Support Group is the 2nd and 4th Fridays each month at 6. Next meeting on Friday will be outside around the fire pit. So bring some s'mores. It's for people experiencing any type of grief. And I think we all kind of have a little grief in our life. Next Sunday, Jerry Stefaniak will be the guest speaker for the celebration service. He's a dynamic teacher, speaker, and counselor dedicated to helping adults build self-esteem, live their vision, and achieve both external success and inner peace. He was spiritual teacher at Unity Church of Christianity in Houston for over 2 decades, leading A Course in Miracles, facilitating workshops, and he inspires lasting personal growth and transformation. I know I said we're going to have this revolving door of people coming in. That's kind of awesome.
Yep.
We get all these great perspectives, so we're lucky. There will not be an adult education class next Sunday because the YOU will be holding a pancake breakfast. They're accepting donations and need to raise $1,020, very specific, to go to Rally. $1,020. I'll throw in the 20. Y'all take care of the rest. They'll be at the table in the foyer after the service today if you want to donate. And Community Through Music summer concert series. First one is May 31st at 7 p.m. It's last Saturday of each month, May to September. Local artists performing this month are Chris Cates, Seth Hunt, and Little Things Collective. And that's it. Thanks for coming, everybody at home.